What's up, everybody? Good morning, good afternoon, good night. My name's Kellam with BitLab Academy, bringing you another incredible guest talking about what the hell is going on with this market. Is this boring, just chop? Is this ever going to go? Well, we got to be prepared. We got to make sure that we get different lenses about what's going on in the market, get different perspectives. So today's guest, and I hope you're all having a good day, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ding the bell, retweet this out to your friends and family. We got Mr. Zach Humphries on. How you doing, my friend? Thank you for being here.
Yeah, man, doing great. Thanks so much for having me. It was great to meet you out at Bitcoin Nashville. And I think we were both sitting there in press row watching Trump speak about Bitcoin and things like that. So, yeah, man, it was a lot of fun, and glad we could connect again and talk some crypto, man.
Yeah, me as well. And, you bring up an interesting point there. We met with Trump on stage giving the announcement that basically fully legitimately endorsing the fact that he is one with Bitcoin within his sort of parameters of what his goals are in this race. We're not seeing him talk about this yet on any major stage. However, we did see, and I think it was very poignant, we did see was 2 or 3 nights ago, earlier this week, John Deaton in the debate that he had with Elizabeth Warren on essentially a major stage a politician discussing their stance on crypto. And I think that was actually sort of parlayed in by Elizabeth Warren bringing that to focus. But do you think that we're at a point now where politicians are going to start more openly discussing these things, not just like Trump did at the Bitcoin conference, but actually having discourse in different political campaigns and so on and so forth? Or is this going to sort of shift / live or die with whether or not Trump wins in this election?
That's a great question. I think it's happening already. I mean, just the fact that it's a topic in the discussion already, more so with Trump than Harris. But even Harris has seen what Trump has said, and she's tried to come back and say, "Hey, I've got some stances on crypto and things like that." I mean, you go back 4 years ago, nobody even really talked about it at all. So I mean, we're making some headway there, and I think the market itself's getting to this point where it can't be ignored. You go back into like the last couple cycles, I feel as if kind of like the powers that be, the politicians were kind of like, oh yeah, that little, crypto thing over there, and let the crypto bros have fun or whatever, right? And now it's getting to that point where we've got a Bitcoin ETF, we've got an Ethereum ETF. Just yesterday, we had news come out that Grayscale wants to basically revamp their entire large cap fund, which has Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP, and Avalanche in it right now, into an ETF, which maybe we can get into that because I think that's the beginning of something really big when we talk about bridging the gap from like TradFi, because that's what they want. They want access to these baskets of cryptos like they have access to baskets of stocks. But there's no doubt, man. I mean, the conversation's shifting. More and more people, influential people, are talking about it in the political realm, and I think it's good for us because I mean, we've been here just minding our own business, saying, yeah, I think something's here, and people are starting to take notice.
I couldn't agree more, and I think a lot of us, I've been in the market for several, I think this is my third or fourth cycle, quite a while. And I know you've been in the markets for a while as well. And I was discussing with another crypto ambassador, somebody that's been in the space. We were on the edges back in 2015, 2016, 2017. You couldn't talk to anybody about it. And that was before even crypto Twitter really existed, or crypto YouTube. So you really were just out there just carving some sort of light through a dark path because you couldn't engage with anybody. And now, we're back then we're looking at this rate of adoption of Bitcoin as it relates to or compared to the rate of adoption of the internet, and seeing the path from, near zero to a billion participants, like you saw with the internet, didn't seem possible. Now we can see that we are basically outpacing the speed of adoption of the internet. And still, it's like, how are we going to 10x between here and 2030, having a billion users of just Bitcoin, not even talking about all the people that aren't in Bitcoin in the broader crypto market. And now I'm starting to see all those puzzle pieces fit together with Larry Fink and Fidelity and Van Eck. And now you just brought up a great point, the ETFs. And this brings up a question I have for you. ETF for Ethereum in some regards, some respects, people would argue vastly underperformed. So it means there's no institutional or retail interest in it like there was for Bitcoin. I would argue it came at a different part in sort of where the market cycle was. And so it feels like it might be a little bit suppressed from there. But going in to 2025 and beyond, do you feel like we're going to, essentially have our eyes opened if we get, we already saw the Franklin Templeton ETF between Bitcoin and Ethereum. But, I spoke with James Safard at Bitcoin Nashville, and he said there's already ETFs done, ready. They're just waiting for some regulatory go ahead, probably sometime next year. And we will get an index ETF for, just like you just mentioned with Grayscale. Do you think those are going to be potentially more or less appetite for those, or is it going to be primarily Bitcoin focused for a cycle or so, and then we start seeing broader range of appetite for the broader exposure in these index ETFs?
Yeah, I mean, my opinion is I don't think anything's going to be bigger than the Bitcoin ETF for a while. I mean, just because Bitcoin's been around for a while, and when you compare Bitcoin and Ethereum, the type of investor, I think they just understand Bitcoin more. They understand it from the standpoint of, hey, this is digital gold. It has a finite supply. It's a better way for a store of value, right? And it's pretty simple if you also agree with those kind of sentiments, for people to kind of see why Bitcoin would be a good investment. And I mean, just look at the performance, right? You have more data over time, and in terms of how Bitcoin's performed against gold, and just how it's performed in the last decade plus. With Ethereum, I still feel as if a lot of people are trying to figure it out, and it's not so easy to understand. What are smart contracts? Are they really going to be used in the real world? How do we know? So maybe if they get, an index where Ethereum's in it, and maybe you get exposure to Solana, Avalanche, XRP, maybe people would be more prone, I think, and maybe keep their Bitcoin ETF separate, have that separate exposure, and then say, okay, let me throw 5 or 6 darts at some of these, because I don't know which one's going to be the clear winner. It might be Ethereum, it might be Solana, it might be XRP, it might be Avalanche. But now, that's maybe a little bit more attractive for the style investor that would be going after that. That's what I think. And I think it's not going to stop there. I really think you're going to have, an AI ETF index. You're going to have an RWA index, a meme coin index. I mean, a gaming index. That's where I think this is going. And because it's hard for you to go there into the gaming sector and be like, okay, who's the clear winner here, right? You could take your guesses, but that's kind of where I see it going, man, over time. But I don't think anything's going to really top Bitcoin for a while. I think that's going to be in a league of its own, like it is in the market, already, in terms of its market cap and where it's at.
Well, you see, I mean, you brought up Grayscale earlier, and you just mentioned certain potential niche indexes within the crypto ecosystem. Do you feel like it may be, two questions here. Do you feel like it may be potential, just from the diligence done from Grayscale? They've been in these markets for quite some time, so they're clearly way more involved in understanding the broad range that's available within the crypto ecosystem. Do you feel like there are various trusts that they set up and things that they're potentially looking at adding trusts on, and these different indexes that they have that aren't ETFs, but do you feel like that could be potentially a playbook for how that will likely go? And then the other question with that is, what, how, and why do you think Grayscale is potentially picking Avalanche and Solana? And you don't need to speak to those projects specifically, but is it a market cap focusing, or is there other things in terms of like potential partnerships because fundamental X, Y, or Z? Why are these certain coins being designated to be part of these various trusts in Grayscale? And is that going to be an indication for their inclusion in potential future ETFs?
Yeah, when you look at the process of kind of Grayscale and what we've seen in the past, and same thing happened with Bitcoin and Ethereum, they had to convert their Bitcoin trust into the ETF. And I think, just recently, they gave XRP a solo trust, right? So if you're looking at it logistically, okay, usually this is how it goes. you form the trust, and then over time you wrap it into an ETF or in one of these large cap funds. Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of like their process, I'm sure they have tons of data. They constantly are evolving it though. Like I remember recently, relatively like late last year, maybe even early this year, Cardano was a big part of it. And there were a few other assets in there, and they're constantly tweaking it, like taking, XRP and AVAX just came in. They took out Cardano, and I can't remember the other one. Might have been Polygon. Don't quote me on that, but I think it was Polygon and Cardano that they took out in their large cap fund to put in XRP and AVAX. So they're constantly kind of evolving. I think, I don't know how they're looking at it. Maybe in that context, they're like, oh, Polygon was the dominant L2, but now there's a lot more competition with Arbitrum and Optimism and Base. And, maybe AVAX has more of a competitive advantage in what they're doing, versus Polygon and what they're doing. And then Solana has kind of burst on the scene. So that one makes sense to me. And having XRP in there is interesting. I mean, everybody has so many strong opinions on it. I hold some. I'm not an XRP maxi or anything like that. I hold some because I think there's value there. I like to trade XRP though, honestly, because it's not that volatile, and you can really just kind of take those small little gains here and there. But yeah, man, it's fascinating. I think us as retail investors though, man, like we can learn so much just by watching what Grayscale does. We were just talking about that the other day on one of my X spaces. It's like, if you're a newbie coming in, I mean, Grayscale lays it out there for you, even how they're allocating their portfolio. So if you're somebody like who just, I want to passively get exposure. I mean, I'm not saying go copy and paste what Grayscale's doing, but it's probably better than, you going at it blind, the newbie coming in blind and saying, hey, what do I do with all this? So that's kind of my general take on it, man. And I think it'll be fascinating to watch how these ETFs play out over the next, 1 to 2 years, especially since you just mentioned that Seifert said that a lot of them are kind of just waiting for the go ahead. Right. And it's going to be fun to watch.
And you just brought us, I mean, we started this conversation with no plan, no agenda, just everybody out there as you're watching. This is just open conversation between people that have been in the markets for a long time. And it raises questions along the way. And by the way, before we continue, I do want to just shout out, make sure you're following Zach right here at Z_Humphries. As you can see spelled right there. Make sure you're following the correct Zach Humphries, because all of us that create content have a never-ending flood of fake profiles that are out there. He's got a great content that he does on YouTube, on Twitter. He's got various groups. Make sure you're giving him a follow. But coming back over, actually, we'll come over to this chart right here. You're talking about Polygon. Let's start out on the 3-day chart. This is, massive symmetrical triangle here, broke out to the downside. And there's a lot of fear, or at least speculation, questions people are having. Is Polygon dead? Does it have something to do with the name change? Is it just being eclipsed by the fact that there's all these new shiny new projects that are out there? Same thing with Sui and Solana. But considering this, and then also coming over here to Ethereum, that's another one. Obviously, Polygon is built on Ethereum, but this is Ethereum as it is weighed against Bitcoin. And it's been in a downtrend. It feels like a never-ending downtrend for 781 days now. Ethereum's been in a downtrend against Bitcoin. So coming into probably what I would guess, or I think based on all my analysis, is we're going into what's likely going to be the most bullish part of this market cycle going in through the end of this year, likely well into next year. And I think right now it is preeminently important to make sure that we are stacked in the right positions, cutting losses where it's not something that's serving the portfolio. Is Ethereum one of those that should be cut? Is Polygon one of those that should be cut? And of course, this is not financial advice. Or are these just two vastly sort of underperforming assets that are kind of some dark horses and potential huge gains that people aren't paying attention to?
That's a great question. We were actually just talking about this same exact thing. And it's one of those big questions you have to ask yourself when you're creating your portfolio right now outside of Bitcoin. I mean, what I like to do is pretty much make up about 70% of my portfolio in Bitcoin. And interestingly enough, that's what Grayscale pretty much did with their large cap fund. And then with that other 30%, it's kind of well diversified with some of the bigger, positions up top. Like I do like in the altcoin market, because how I look at it is I'm going to trade altcoins pretty much every cycle, just to acquire more Bitcoin, right? Like just to acquire more Bitcoin.
It's the
So
only reason I hold altcoins.
yeah, 100%. And like, I want to find the fastest horses, right? So like, I'm willing to do that because I've got like that backbone in my portfolio, which is Bitcoin. So I was pretty big on SUI, still am. I took a little bit of profits here ahead of their big unlock they've got coming up, I think on November 1st, just because I was so far up. But that money will probably go back in once I find a good spot. Still like that one. I feel like that could be like the Solana of this run, right? Like that's the narrative that people are running with. It's got a lot of similarities. Ondo Finance is one that I like as well in that RWA space. You know, if that space is going to be as big as people say it is, and Larry Fink has talked as much as he's talked about RWA and what a $10 trillion industry. I mean, yeah, let me get some Ondo Finance because you know this too. I mean, even if it's not time yet for RWAs, they'll run on narrative. Like the whole thing last year, like metaverse, right? This play to earn thing. I don't think any of that stuff's really ready yet, but you could make a lot of money in it because people are talking about it and speculating on it. And that might be where we are with RWAs, right? But it's hot right now. Same thing with AI. AI cryptos, another perfect example that fits that bill. Are we really there yet? Maybe, maybe not. But when it comes to making money in the altcoin market, it really doesn't matter. As long as that narrative stays hot through the hottest part of the market, that's what you want to be holding. So you got to guess right. Obviously, you're not going to guess right all the time, but those are the sort of things that I'm kind of looking for in terms of like, you know, how do I want my altcoin portfolio to look like? And then meme coins, man. I mean, meme coins have been insanely bullish. I mean, since Pepe of 2023, there is no other sector that compares to the amount of money that has come in. I mean, it's insane when you look at it. So yeah, I'm heavy there as well with some of the newer type plays. Like I really like Brett. I've got a big position there. Now Tron's in the game, and Justin Sun, very opinionated guy and all of that. But I mean, hey, there's a lot of liquidity there. He's got a couple there that I think could go. But yeah, man, those are the sort of things I'm looking for.
Well, I'm not somebody that talks about meme coins often, but I cannot deny looking at this market and also the fact that, we have voices in a way that people are tuned in right now watching, right? And so I think it's important to talk contextually about all aspects of the market. And I was in a Twitter Spaces last night discussing this, and I think it would be irresponsible not to recognize that there is a very obvious unit bias for new participants when they come in the market. They think, if they spend $100, they don't want 0.000 whatever a decimal point of Bitcoin. People are more interested in getting 100 billion of this token because the cost is so low. And so I do think that when the next huge wave really thrusts into the market, it'll probably be starting somewhat after $85,000 Bitcoin. It'll really be getting wild about 120,000. I do think there's going to be a huge amount of liquidity because the number of people coming into the market, I think it's going to be the largest adoption wave we've seen yet because of how big the space is now. And I do think that the meme coin market is going to have a huge amount of liquidity come into it. So while I try to focus, I can't limit other people and what they do, how they're investing. And so speaking with somebody like you that that does participate in it, what would be your thoughts on people that are, maybe they're new to the space, maybe they're here and they just want to start, dipping in to those huge gains they can get in meme coins? What would be some of your words of advice? Maybe some of it's allocation, maybe some of it's risk management, but also how the hell are you selecting? Because it seems like a crapshoot, but are there some secret tips and tricks?
Yeah, I mean, I think don't over leverage yourself. Don't go all in on meme coins. I think that's the biggest biggest mistake people make is they go all in on this new thing that there's no substance really. It's all community driven, but so much of it I think is when you're looking at a good meme coin. People would say MOnomics here. Strong community. You got to look at a growing holder base, right? How's the culture? Is it toxic in that community? Is it positive? And you look at Pepe. The one thing that stood out, they had all of that, but then they had huge whales early on. And if you track some of that stuff, I went and looked at some of those things. A lot of people came in from the NFT market and just kind of piled on. So like tracking those big wallets, tracking those whale wallets, and seeing if they're still accumulating when you get to 80 to 100 million instead of dumping the charts. These are sort of things that, okay, this thing has potential. If they're buying this amount here at 80 to 100 million dollar market cap, this thing could get to that $1 billion mark. It's crazy to me, and I don't know what this is necessarily. It just feels like it's so much easier for a meme coin to get to a $100 million market cap than it was in 2021, even during the best of times. And I don't know what that is. I really can't put my finger on it. I don't know if like the retail is just kind of investing less in the VC backed things, or maybe the market will just shift back toward that eventually. I'm not sure, but I mean, ever since Pepe kind of resurged the altcoin market a little bit, at least within meme coins, it's been wild to watch just how many meme coins have been able to get to 100 million, 200 million, 300 million, a billion. I mean, we have like 10 or 11 meme coins in the top 100 right now. You go back to 2021, there was like 2 or 3. It's pretty nuts, you know?
Yeah, I mean it's wild. You know, I have on CoinMarketCap, I have it up right now on the meme section, and just to put it in perspective, everybody, if you look at Pepe, Pepe went up to a $7 billion market cap. I mean, that is astronomical. If you want to really shock yourself, look. I mean, it blows my mind that I mean, Doge. Look at this. This went up to where is that? No, 18 billion. I mean, I think didn't it go higher than that?
Yeah. I think it almost got to 100, honestly, because I know SHIB got to about 50, 40, 50, 45, 50. I think it got to like 70, something like
That
that.
yeah, I thought it went much higher. I don't know why this is not. Oh, I'm looking at price. My bad. See, guys, you got to look at the charts correctly in order to get the right data. So right there, yeah, no, that's yeah, $84 billion market cap for
Yeah.
Dogecoin, and this is also on the event. This is also preceding. This is before the narrative about X payments and all that, right? So, do you still think that X payments is something that is going to roll out, and what's the likelihood there? I think it's pretty high, but what's the likelihood there that Elon includes Doge in X payments if that does come out? Because I don't know if we'll get to 84 billion again. I think it's likely, but I do want to point out before we talk further on this, 84 billion here market cap doesn't mean we're going to get the same price response because of how many Dogecoin. I mean, there's I think 21 million Dogecoin printed like every 3 or 4 weeks. So there's an astronomically larger market, total token supply. But what do you think about this? Is this something, although it's a meme coin, might have some sort of predictive, sort of fundamental developments with X payments?
I think so. I think it's the best bet. I mean, because, even when you look at it, it's proof of work. I mean, from a technical standpoint, it's actually really solid. I mean, it's very similar to Bitcoin in a lot of ways. It just doesn't really do much right now. But that would be a huge use case. I mean, imagine if like that is how you tip creators on X. Imagine if that's how you just pay and transact with everything on X. And like this is something Elon has always wanted to do: create the Everything app. We know he's going and getting money transmitter licenses in all 50 states right now in the United States. So, and we know he loves Dogecoin. So, I mean, you start to put the pieces of the puzzle together and you're like, yeah, I mean, I could see a world where, hey, you can tip in Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Dogecoin, or you can pay in Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Doge. So I think if there's one where you want exposure to the meme coin market where, there's not a ton of risk, I think it's Doge. And there's just so many people who just hold it. I mean, that craze that happened with the amount of influx of people that were downloading the Robinhood app just to buy Dogecoin, a lot of those people are still holding, a lot of those people. And yeah, I mean, personally, if you're in the space every day and you're active, I think there might be some faster horses. But if you're just somebody, again, I always like to say that because like you got to be real with yourself. Are you an active investor or passive? If you're more passive and you just want exposure to the meme coin market, I think Dogecoin's your play, right? Because it's less volatile, it's a bigger market cap. I don't think it's going away anytime soon. Whereas if you're active, maybe you're going after something. You can't go to bed at night sometimes with the meme coins. You got to take profits before you can go to sleep. But yeah, man, it'll be fun. I think Elon's going to do something big for crypto in general. And I think Dogecoin will be a part of it, but I think he's going to do something big for the market at large. He's been quiet for a while, but I think they're working something on the back channel. And I'm not betting against him with what he's building over there at X.
I mean, dude, did you see the story with they integrated, they built a facility and integrated 100,000 GPUs in like 19 days. And the CEO of NVIDIA, who he bought the GPUs from, said, he goes, I don't know how he did it. This is a 4-year project with our engineers. Somehow they got it up, integrated, everything working in under 20 days. It's his ability, as he said, to marshal logistics and just get things done is incredible. It really is. But you know what? I mean, I'm very excited about this market, where it's going, all the different sectors, the things that are building into the traditional access points with ETFs. Grayscale still providing a little bit of a playbook for kind of knighting some of the different altcoins out there. Okay, this is at minimum, semi-legitimate and getting the exposures there. But I don't want to keep you all day and anybody else out there that's watching. So we can kind of wrap this up here. We're coming into the holiday season. We're coming into what I think is in the very near future, if it's not already happening at this moment, the start of that true most exciting part of the bull market, where we get that parabola really starting to get exciting. How do you see where we're at in the cycle? Meaning, it's different. Everybody says this time is different, but then again, it has to be different to maintain any sort of structure like we saw in previous cycles. So do you think we'll follow a similar trajectory, roughly October 2025 for a market cycle top? Do you think this is going to be similar in terms of Bitcoin runs, and then we get that sort of somewhat delayed altcoin peak after? Is capital is this cycle going to be different in the crypto space, or early top, late top? I mean, it's anybody's guess, but what's your thoughts?
Yeah, it's so tough to predict. I mean, my take on it is, until it gets debunked, I'm just going to follow how things have gone, because I feel like every cycle that people are like, okay, this time's different, super cycle this. And so, but more or less, things have been pretty similar, to this point. And, I think there's going to be eventually like some consolidation in the market. And I think we get a little bit of that this go around. People are going to be a little bit more concentrated, I think, on Bitcoin, especially with the ETF and everything. So I don't know if you're necessarily going to be able to just throw a dart at anything and hit bullseye this go around. I think you're going to have to be a little bit more strategic in your altcoin moves. But other than that, I think the timelines, should be the same. Who knows, right? But that's at least how I'm playing it. Maybe a little, first pump in the early part of 2025 after the election. Markets kind of know what to expect, a little more clarity, new year. And then hopefully we get what we had in October, November of 2021, the blow off top. And if you're in the right altcoins, well, you'll be sitting pretty.
So, final question. End of the year, December 31st, whether it's on that date or by that date, do we hit 100 grand by the end of the year?
Oh man, it's tough. I honestly think it's like a 50-50 shot. I really do. I think we're gonna get an all-time high here in the next month or so. That's what I really feel. As long as we can comfortably stay above 66 here, that was a big move there for Bitcoin. It'll be interesting. I'm gonna say yes, just because the bulls will hate me if not.
Well, I love it. Well, Zach, I appreciate you coming on. Great talking with you. We're going to have to do some more content together. Everybody, make sure you're giving him a follow. Again, I'm going to pull up his page. It is right here at Z_Humphries. That's HUMPHRIES. And he's got all the links for all the different things he does here as well. Zach, is there anything else you wanted to close out with before we go?
No, thanks, brother. I appreciate it, Kelly. Great meeting you, man. Happy to hop on here again in the future. And I'll have to get you on the Crypto Breakfast Club, too, our X space we got going on over there. Or do some kind of thing on YouTube or something.
Yeah, let's do it. We'll be tracking along. And again, everybody out there watching, thank you for being here. Remember, even if you feel like you got left behind, It's the most backwards thing you can think right now, because this is just getting going. You're ahead of 7 billion people. Hold tight, make some smart choices, and tune into different voices so you can get a wide lens, different types of lenses of what's going on in the market. But that's all I got today. Everybody hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and ding the bell. That's all we got. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time. Adios.